Hello everyone, welcome back to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 18th of June 2021, and in this video we'll be discussing this couple of issues. A place for disruptive technology in India's health sector. If you take a look at the World Health Organization's definition of health, it says that health is not just absence of disease, it is a state of well-being, and this aspect is true for physical as well as mental health. We are talking about well-being. So there are two connotations of the idea of health. The negative connotation talks about absence of disease, but World Health Organization emphasis on this aspect of well-being is a welcome measure. So in this article we'll be talking about the various disruptive technologies for sustainable healthcare. So what are those enabling technologies for actually addressing the healthcare problems in our country? So to begin with, the context of this article is of course the experiences that COVID pandemic has taught us. Last year we have had headlines about a humanoid robo in Savai Mansingh Government Hospital in Jaipur. That robo was actually delivering medicines and food to COVID-19 patients. So back then, in the medical policy fraternity, robotics picked some interest in solving the crisis, because back then, in the initial days of COVID management, we have had a severe shortage of healthcare professionals as well, because they were very reluctant to come out and address the concerns of the patients, especially in private hospitals. So this brings us to the critical aspect of how technologies can actually solve this healthcare problem in our country, and we are looking at a few technologies, especially in the context of communicable diseases, because that is the priority right now. So if you use technologies like artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, blockchain, and we have cloud, quantum computing, 5G, all this kind of new technologies which are at the center of our healthcare delivery system, what would it be like? That is the question that is being raised. So if you take a look at the blockchain as a technology, it helps in addressing the interoperability challenges that health information and technology systems face. Now what do you mean by this interoperability? If you take the situation of our hospitals in the country, nearly 70% of the tertiary healthcare facilities are in the hands of private, and just 30% is with the government. And even 67% of the expenditure comes out of the pockets of individuals. So in this context, there is absolutely no uniformity in the systems followed by different hospitals to maintain the data of patients. That is the interoperability challenge. So basically we are talking about a API or a common framework. Instead of an app like a thing which has a lot of security issues, the government is actually considering blockchain as an alternative. There are a lot of white papers written on the potential of blockchain in healthcare sector as well, to solve this interoperability problem. That is, there will be a seamless flow between the private and government hospitals regarding the data of patients, because they are on the same kind of a chain where the information flow is very transparent. Therefore, blockchain solves the biggest or the first problem of handling data in healthcare. So the impact of this data is actually felt when we take policy driven decisions and prioritize expenditure in tandem with the trends that these data exhibit. Now, to maintain this security, we can use cloud computing, and at the same time, as technology advances further, we can actually scale up this cloud and move towards analytics to actually predict the patterns of behavior. And the next stage would be Internet of Things, that is, delivering healthcare diagnostics through sensor based robotics using internet. And this can be done remotely as well, which would solve the crunch of quality medical healthcare workers in rural societies as well. So the health blockchain would contain a complete index history of all medical data, and this is very secure as well. So that is one of the potential application of disruptive technology in our healthcare sector. Now, in this context, we have to discuss the concept of universal healthcare. Last year, our Prime Minister has actually announced that he would be launching this National Digital Health Mission. The key objective of this is to digitize health records and ensure that healthcare delivery is very seamless. Now, the logical conclusion of this mission would be to universalize this healthcare delivery. That is, every citizen of our country should get access to healthcare facilities. That can be possible through scale, and that scale can be given by this National Digital Health Mission. And in this process, we also have to use local knowledge. For example, if you take the case of Ebola handling in Africa, without the help of local communities, no amount of technology would actually help us. So similarly, we need to have workforce at the grassroots level even after this technology comes. So in this entire scheme of things, what are the possible challenges that are in our way to implement these policies? The biggest challenge, of course, would be to actually re-engineer everything that is existing right now. It is not that healthcare in our country is without a data system. Every healthcare professional will actually rely on certain centralized system where he works, since the fact that every private company has a different kind of a software to maintain that data. If you have to actually develop a template for sharing data or create an institutional mechanism for our medical sector, it will be a big challenge. However, we also have to note that this is not an insurmountable challenge, because this is needed. It will take some considerable amount of political will, as well as addressing the challenges of our stakeholders amicably. Otherwise, this National Digital Health Mission cannot actually see the kind of result that it should result in universal healthcare. So this objective of universal healthcare should be our ultimate agenda using this disruptive technologies. For that, this key aspect of political will and patience in negotiating with the various stakeholders, because there is a lot of money at stake. Private healthcare is actually the money that comes from FDI as well. In fact, there is a significant amount of FDI inflows into healthcare sector in the last 4 or 5 years as well. So this sums up the idea about the potential of technology in solving the health sector problems of our country and the challenges that are associated with that. So this is the gist of this article. India to launch Deep Ocean Mission. What is the significance of this particular mission, and what are the important points that we have to learn from the perspective of prelims and mains? So this will be the focus of this article. We'll be trying to understand the strategic significance of this Deep Ocean Mission as well. So recently, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs approved the proposal of the Ministry of Earth Sciences. This is the first prelims pointer that you have to remember. The Ministry of Earth Sciences is handling this Deep Ocean Mission. So the blueprint of this mission is to explore the deep oceans, and this was announced way back in 2018 itself. Earlier, the Ministry of Earth Sciences rolled out something called the Draft Blue Economic Policy. Now, what is this Draft Blue Economic Policy about? Basically, this policy looks at ocean as a major source of revenue, as well as a sort of livelihood for the coastal communities. Along with that, the Blue Economic Policy also focuses on the aspect of sustainability. Just because we're talking about economics in the context of oceans, it does not mean that we can exploit the resources indiscriminately. there are certain sustainable principles to which we have to stick, and those principles are underlined in this particular policy. So what is the cost of this mission? Over a period of 5 years, it is estimated that we'll be spending 477 crores, and it will be implemented in various phases. So the number is not really important. What we have to understand is that projects like this will have resource allocation in multiple phases. So implementation will also have in multiple phases. That is the reason why the nodal ministry, which acts as the implementing agency, will have to be multi-institutional in its approach. So this is a very ambitious mission. Now in this, the mode of executing this project is called mission mode. That is, there will be certain laid down objectives and timelines, and budget will be released in alignment with those missions. So as we finish that particular task, we will look at the outcomes and further invest the money in the next financial year. So this mission mode project will help this blue economic policy of our country. Now, blue economy is the sustainable use of ocean resources. For what? Economic growth. So this is the focus of the draft blue economic policy. It will also improve livelihoods and jobs as well. So the technology and expertise needed for a mission like this will be available with different countries, but right now in the world we only have 5 countries which have this technology for carrying out this deep ocean mission. Those countries: US, Russia, France, Japan, and of course China. But what is the significance? After India became the 6th country to have this technology, what are we trying to achieve? So the major component of this mission, its significance, is what we have to understand. But before that, let me give you the significance of this mission. You know that oceans, which cover around 70% of the globe, remain a key part of our life, and 95% of the deep ocean remains very unexplored. So this is a very high amount. And India is actually, if you take a look at the map, we are surrounded by sea on 3 sides. We are a peninsula. And 30% of the country's population lives in this coastal areas. So we have actually not tapped into the potential that ocean can offer us as a major economic factor in supporting the various fisheries communities, the industry of aquaculture, tourism, livelihoods, etc. So for that reason, this is very significant. And also, we have a humongous coastline of 7,517 kilometers, and we have 9 coastal states. Also, there are a lot of islands as well. So in tandem with the vision laid down for New India by 2030, this mission becomes very crucial. So you know that oceans are storehouse of food. You get minerals, especially something called polymetallic nodules. Now this polymetallic nodules became very important in the present scheme of things because our economy is turning towards Industrial Revolution 4.0. So these oceans are actually the home for what we know as multi-metal polymetallic nodules, or the multi-metal hydrothermal sulfide mineralization, as you can technically call it. So this minerals are actually very useful in our semiconductor manufacturing aspiration. So these minerals supply the raw materials required for this semiconductor manufacturing, which is very crucial for the Industrial Revolution 4.0. We're talking about technologies like artificial intelligence, etc. So the entire objective of this deep ocean mission is not just to have a economic benefit. At the same time, we're also talking about strategic benefit in the terms of the access to technologies and control over their production patterns. All in all, we are trying to utilize our oceans better, which have hitherto been unexplored. So that is the context of this article.